friends, this is Emily with burlapkitchen.com, where I'm all about simplicity. Tonight we're going to be redoing this love sign that I got at Dollar Tree. We're using some wood letters, some greenery, an embroidery hoop, some paint, and a few other supplies. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to lift the heart off this sign. This was a little harder than it looked. I actually edited some of that out, but they say if you heat it up with your heat gun, it sort of melts the glue and then it rips right up. I had a little bit of trouble with that, so I heated it up and then had to get a butter knife to pry under it, and it seemed to work pretty good. So I'm cutting the top off. We're not going to need that little red piece that they hung it with, and I am going to paint it black. I am using the color Crazy Crow from the Afraid Not paint line. If you never used her paints before, I definitely suggest heading over to her page and checking them out. They're awesome. They are chalky paints, and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to paint the entire surface, and this Crazy Crow color is sort of like a brown black. It's like a real sort of antique-y color, and I absolutely love this color. I'm out, so I need more. So I'm going to make sure this is nice and dry here before moving on. And now I'm going to take some white chalk paint, and I'm just dipping a chip brush into a little bit of it, and then I'm going to rub a good bit off, and then I'm going to dry brush over top the black, and that's going to give a really cool almost chalkboard effect to this piece of board. You do want to make sure that it's dry, the black paint's dry, before adding your white, or your colors will smear and you won't get as nice of a look as what I did here. So I'm just going to make sure this is nice and dry. And I'm just going to make sure my surface is dry real quick. You don't want to get any wet paint on your finished project. And I sped this process up quite a bit. I'm just taking these wood letters that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm tracing them onto my sheet music. Now I did this kind of backwards. I should have traced it on the back and not the front, because I now have pen marks on the front of my letters, and I did not want to do that. So do it how I'm telling you and not how I actually did it in this video. So I also sped this part up because now I'm just going to go ahead and Mod Podge the sheet music that I cut out onto each letter. I'm just literally painting the letters with the Mod Podge and then sticking them over top of it and then giving it a quick dry with my blow dryer. And I did give them a little sand to get some of that pen mark off. So now we're going to work with this embroidery hoop and some antique wax. I like to work right out of the lid, and what I like to do is just dip my rag in it and rub it onto the embroidery hoop and then just sort of wipe it off. And that will just give it a nice antique look that will match the rest of this project. So let me finish this up here. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. I'm running the sanding block again over these letters. Again, I got that pen mark on the front of them. So I took a file over them, a nail file. Someone suggested using that for small projects like this to get in those little nooks and crannies, and it actually works really well. So now I'm going to do the same technique that I did on the embroidery hoop with the letters. I'm just going to dip my rag into the stain, wipe it onto each letter, and then wipe it off. And you can see the difference there. It's just giving it a real antique sort of vintage look. And I'm just going to keep doing that to each one, and then I'm going to dry them and make sure they're nice and dry before we move on to the next step. I'm just going to lay everything onto my board in the order that I want it to go, and now I'm going to cut some greenery up. I got this at Hobby Lobby. It was some garland, some greenery garland for around the door, and I got it on sale and thought it'd be perfect to cut up for little projects like this. I'm going to take this piece of buffalo check material that I have, and I'm going to insert that into the embroidery hoop, and I'm going to go ahead and give all that extra material there a trim. And now I'm just going to kind of stuff this greenery into that little screw part of the embroidery hoop and hot glue it on. And I really wanted to give this a trim before I took my final picture, and I actually forgot. I didn't even realize it until I sat down to do this video. So just know that I probably should have trimmed that up a little bit. Okay, that looks looking pretty good to me. So now we're going to work with this heart, and I'm just going to give it a dry brush with the white chalk paint, a real quick brush, and make sure it's nice and dry. And now I'm going to take the antique wax, and I am going to just sort of dab it on there with the chip brush, and that's just going to make it look nice and rusty. And of course I'm going to give it a real quick dry. And now I'm going to lay everything the way that I want it to look, and I'm just going to hot glue everything in place. get the V down and the E down. And of course the embroidery hoop. With the embroidery hoop, you just have to go around that ring and make sure you got tons of glue on that so it sticks well. I'm just going to go ahead and hot glue the heart here in the center. I don't know if I'm loving the color of the heart. Maybe I should have done it all rusty. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. And now I'm going to take a little piece of raffia and just do a really simple little bow and sort of glue my greenery down to get it to look how I want it to look. Do a little trimming up. And now I'm going to take this twine and I put a little hot glue on the end to help it go through the holes. And we're just going to tie knots in the back here and hot glue it to secure it. That way we can hang it. So guys, that is it. I really hope you guys enjoyed this project as much as I did. Please, please, if you love this project, sprinkle it for me. That really helps me out. For more great ideas just like this one, please visit burlapkitchen.com. Thank you.